y'all. How is everybody doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Okay, as you can see, we're back with another video, and this time we're doing this video kind of early. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. I was supposed to be trying to do it earlier, but you know, hey, such is life. Okay, now, let me take a sip of my tea. What we're going to be doing today, this AM, is we're going to make some bread, okay? I'm almost out. I only got like less than a half a loaf made, so I said, let me make me some bread. At first, I was going to do sourdough, then I decided, nah, I don't want to do that today. I'll do that another day, so we're just going to make a plain, yeast bread, okay? And I'm going to bring you along so that those of you who don't know how to bake bread, it's time you learn, okay? Bread is one of the simplest things that you can make, okay? Especially if you have children who like sandwiches and, all that kind of stuff. Instead of having to run to the store, you have your own. And plus, you know what's in it, okay? Because if you go to the store and buy a loaf of bread, and look at the side of what's in it, it's like, what is this stuff? Half of the stuff you can't even pronounce, okay? Yeah, and then plus, the bread is made with commercial flour, okay? Now, commercial flour, a lot of people say, they talk about wheat, you shouldn't eat wheat. But what they're really saying is that, and they don't even realize this is what they mean. You shouldn't be eating a whole lot of commercial flour, because commercial flour is milled in such a way that they take out all the goodness, and all you have left is that white flour, okay? Now, then what they do is they add back in vitamins and all that stuff, what they call enriched. Like when you buy flour, it'll say enriched, is because they had to add back all the good stuff that they sifted out. And they do that to give it shelf life, because fresh milled flour, what we're going to be using today, has a very short shelf life. You have to put it in the freezer, if you want to keep it. That's what I do. After I mill, and whatever I have left, I put it in one of my bags and throw it in the freezer, and I actually use it to feed my sourdough most of the time, not unless I'm making a specific sourdough. But anyway, we're going to be making this bread, and the bread that we're making is coming out of this book called The Essential Homegrown Flour Book from Sue Becker. Sue Becker is a food scientist, and her specialty is grains, wheat and all that kind of stuff. That's what she studied in school. She got a degree in this. And so she's someone who knows what she's talking about when she's talking about, the difference between the flour and, a commercial flour and a whole wheat flour that you mill yourself. So, yeah, the bread is coming out. And I've made this bread before. This is the best bread I have ever made. I don't know what it is about it, and there's nothing special, but it is absolutely delicious, okay? So we're going to make this, she calls it a basic yeast bread, but this bread is good. So the first thing we're going to do, y'all, is mill our flour, okay? And it calls for, the recipe, you need 4.5 cups of flour. Now I can mill 4 cups of flour and get that 4.5 cups, okay? Now, this is my mill. Let me wipe this off. There are different type mills. I will go over that, another time. This is, I would call this a starter meal, you know, because they have other ones that are, well, anyway, okay. What this calls for is 4.5 cups of flour. So we are going to mill our grains. Okay, now I have what's called hard white wheat, and I also have what's called kamut. You know, kamut is an ancient grain, and it has a nice nutty flavor to it. Makes the bread taste pretty good. Let me show you the difference, okay, with this hard white wheat and this kamut. I'm only gonna get a couple of grains, okay, so you can see the difference. Okay, let me bring it. Let me see if you can see that. If you can, let me see. Bring it close. Okay, now the kamut grain is a longer. Oh shoot, it's a longer grain. And the hard wheat, white wheat is a little, well, I'll do better doing it this way. This is a hard white wheat. You see how short and stubby it is? That's a modern grain. And then this is the kamut grain. You see how long it is? That's an ancient grain. Okay. Now, all right, now this, like I said, it calls for 4.5 cups of flour. So what I'm going to do is do 2 cups of each, okay? But first, you know, I have to turn my mill on before I can put any flour in it. I mean, any grains in it, because it tells you right there, turn on before filling. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this on and then start filling it with the wheat berries. Okay, you guys, I have all the grains, you know, I have them all milled. Let me move this out the way, and then I'm gonna move this part out the way because we're done with this part. Now, we're gonna open this. Let me bring this over so you can see it. Freshly milled flour. Okay, now I'm gonna get set up for part 2 of making this bread. So after I get set up with that, we're gonna come back. Okay, you guys, we are all set up to do the next part of our bread. I broke out my dough mixer, and we're going to put in here all the ingredients that we're starting off with first. Okay, we're going to put in here 1.5 cups of water. That's what it starts with. So we're going to put our 1.5 cups of water, and it calls for, after that, it calls for one third cup of oil. I'm using avocado oil, and I'm pouring that in here. You can use any oil that you want. You can use olive oil, any kind of neutral oil. You can use any kind of neutral oil. Okay, now I'm putting in, this calls for liquid honey. For those of you who use honey, I don't use honey, so either I'm going to use either agave or coconut nectar. Today I'm using coconut nectar because I don't have any agave, and I'm putting that in there. All right, now I have to go in next. Wait a minute, let me get all this out of here. Okay. Okay, next it says add the salt. We have 2 teaspoons of salt, and we also have 1 tablespoon of, you can either use bran extract or powdered lecithin. Okay, it's optional, but I'm using the lecithin with the 2 teaspoons of salt. And we'll put that in there. And you can also, it also calls for 1 egg. You know, we don't do eggs. And it also, excuse me, gluten flour, but I'm not using gluten flour. I don't need that. Okay, so, oh, let me wash my hands. My hands are sticky. Let me move all this. Then we'll come back and, okay, now I'm just going to kind of let this. Okay, now the directions say add 3 cups of flour. So we're going to add our flour. One. Okay, now we're going to mix this, like it says, until a thick batter forms. Okay, then we're going to, after that, we're going to sprinkle our yeast over top of it, and we're going to be using 1 tablespoon of yeast. Okay. Okay, now we add in our yeast. Like I said, we're using 1 tablespoon of, this is quick rising yeast too. Okay, now we're going to start mixing this up and adding the rest of our flour. now, you guys, we're going to let this sit for 30 minutes. So, the dough can absorb all the liquid, because we're working with fresh milled grains, so we're going to have to let these grains soak up the water, okay? Now, I did have to add a little bit more flour, like a half a cup more, because it was still kind of wet. It depends on where you are, you know, the weather and all that, of what you need to do when you're have to add more flour. And because, you know, every place is different, you know, and freshly milled grains act different. Okay, so we're going to let this sit, and then after this sits for 30 minutes, we're going to come back and let it, we're going to knead it in the machine for 10 minutes. Okay, so be back at you. Okay, now that the 30 minutes is up, we are going to go ahead and knead our dough, and I'm going to set this alarm here I got with me, because I'm not going to just stand here and watch it. I'm going to mix, okay? Okay, you guys. Woo. Take our dough off the hook. Get it ready to get in this bowl. Okay, we're going to spray this bowl with some oil. I'm going to put this in here. Let me spray the top a little bit. Now, we're going to cover this up. Put it in the oven with the light on. And we're going to let that rise in there for about an hour. And yeah, we'll be back in an hour. Okay, you guys, an hour is up. And we're going to knock the air out of the... Okay, we're going to get these ready to put in the pans. Let me see. Cut these in half. We're going to take our dough roller and we're going to kind of roll these out so we can get them in the pans, okay? Oh, before I forget, let me preheat this oven to 375. Start, okay. We're going to let those rise for 30 minutes. Then we'll get them in the oven. And we'll be back after they bake up, okay? See you in a bit. Okay, as you can see, I put the bread in the oven and it's gonna bake for at least 30 minutes, okay? So we'll let that bake for the 30 minutes and we'll be right back. Well, it'll be right back for you, but it'll be 30 minutes. Okay, before I go, actually, you know, I'm gonna show you what I do with this flour when I have some left, because I do have some left, okay? What I'm going to do, this is the bag that I keep the extra flour in. And I take it. And I put it in this bag. There, my extra flour. And we're going to put this in the freezer. Okay, you guys, the timer just went off. For the bread that's in the oven, we're going to go ahead and take them out. Okay. All right, that's the first one. Ooh. Ooh, nice and hot. They smell good. Of course, fresh bread always smells good. All right. So I will turn off this oven. Turn off the oven light. Okay, this is our freshly baked bread. Okay, you guys, we're gonna let these cool. All right. Bread, y'all. I'll bring it so you can see it. Freshly baked bread. Okay. Wait, I think I'm going to butter the top. That's what I'm going to do. Oops. Put some butter on the top. Butter fell apart. Oh, I know why it's like this. I forgot what was I doing? I was doing something. Wipe that off. Okay, turn it back to its side. Okay, you guys, our freshly baked bread. All right, give it a try. I will link the recipe to this in the description box. Yeah. So, if you have never baked bread before, y'all, give it a try. Give it a try. It's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. And you will be glad that you did. Your family will thank you if you learn how to bake fresh baked bread, okay? Now, if this is the first time you ever watched any of my videos, I'm going to ask you to subscribe, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up and share, okay? So, freshly baked bread from freshly milled flour. With that, y'all, I'm going to say peace, love, and light, and catch you in the next one.